The small victories that began to unfold on Earth's war-torn soil brought an unexpected spark of hope to a world hanging on the edge of despair. In the days following the deployment of the secret weapons, humanity's resistance against the alien invaders started to show signs of life. What had seemed like an insurmountable war, with alien forces dominating every aspect of Earth's defenses, was now being met with unexpected resistance. The first victories were modest but powerful. An alien warship was destroyed by a plasma cannon in a daring ambush on a major city's outskirts, sending shockwaves through both the human forces and the invaders. A squadron of drones, previously dismissed as mere distractions, successfully took down a high-ranking alien commander by slipping through a fortified area undetected and delivering a deadly payload. These successes, though small, were critical in reigniting a sense of possibility among those who had been on the brink of giving up. For the first time since the invasion began, the tide seemed to turn ever so slightly in humanity's favor. These victories, each one no more than a crack in the overwhelming wall of alien might, were enough to inspire a new wave of resistance fighters. Cities that had once been lost, causes began to come alive with activity, with civilians turning their homes into fortified strongholds. Military leaders, previously overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the alien onslaught, found renewed strength, rallying their forces and preparing for coordinated strikes. Morale surged as word spread of these early triumphs. The news that a city had repelled an alien attack or that a small group of soldiers had downed a warship boosted the spirits of the countless people still trapped behind enemy lines. Those who had feared the worst now began to believe that there might be a chance to turn the war around. In the midst of these battles, some of the planet's greatest minds, scientists, engineers, and strategists, began to fine-tune the newly deployed technology. The experimental weapons, though still imperfect, were growing more reliable with each passing day. The plasma cannons, once considered a wild card, were now being used in precise, calculated strikes, focusing on weak points in the alien ship's armor. The drones, which had once seemed like little more than a nuisance, were becoming a terrifying force, coordinating attacks with military units on the ground. Even the EMP devices, which had caused chaos with their initial use, were refined, allowing for strategic deployment that weakened alien communications without crippling Earth's own systems. Humanity was adapting quickly, learning from every misstep and turning it into an advantage. Small victories on the battlefield began to spread a contagious optimism across the world. People who had once cowered in fear now took to the streets to fight back, inspired by the hope that the aliens could be defeated. Local militias formed, often led by ordinary citizens who had never before picked up a weapon. In some areas, these makeshift forces staged successful guerrilla attacks, forcing the invaders to retreat from strategically important areas. In other places, resistance fighters managed to infiltrate alien-held territories, sabotaging supply lines and gathering intelligence that would prove invaluable in later battles. Though humanity was still vastly outnumbered and outgunned, the small victories started to accumulate, creating a momentum that could not be ignored. As the human forces continued to push back, alien commanders who had once viewed the conquest of Earth as inevitable started to experience doubt. Their advanced technology and overwhelming firepower were still formidable, but they had underestimated the resolve of humanity. The alien forces, once confident in their dominance, now found themselves on the defensive in some areas, scrambling to adapt to the unexpected tactics and ingenuity of the humans. Alien warships that had once seemed invincible were no longer so unassailable. The Resistance, although still in its infancy, had proven that even the most advanced alien army could be beaten with the right tools, strategies, and a fierce will to survive. These small victories, seemingly insignificant in the grand scheme of the war, had begun to shift the narrative of the conflict. What had started as a desperate fight for survival was now evolving into a war for liberation, a war that humanity could win. As the alien forces tightened their grip on Earth, humanity realized that conventional methods of defense would not be enough. Desperation set in as cities crumbled, and resistance groups struggled to hold back the invaders. At the darkest hour, when hope seemed all but lost, Earth scientists and military leaders revealed the existence of a secret weapons program, one so advanced that it had been kept hidden from the world, tucked away in classified bunkers and underground labs. These experimental technologies, developed over years of covert research, were humanity's last hope. The war against the alien forces had escalated far beyond anything imaginable, and now the world was left with no choice but to gamble everything on these untested innovations. The secret weapons were nothing short of revolutionary. Hidden away for fear of their potential dangers, the technology was designed to level the playing field in the face of an overwhelmingly powerful enemy. Among the most promising of these new weapons were energy-based artillery systems capable of firing concentrated blasts of plasma strong enough to breach the tough outer shells of the alien ships. The weapon's power came from a rare energy source, discovered only in the final years before the invasion, and it had the potential to turn the tide of the war. Alongside these plasma cannons were specialized drones, autonomous, highly maneuverable, machines armed with the ability to infiltrate alien defenses and deliver deadly payloads. These drones could fly through the wreckage of cities, dodging enemy fire while delivering strikes with pinpoint accuracy. Another secret weapon in humanity's arsenal was an electromagnetic pulse, EMP device, a powerful tool designed to disable the advanced alien technology by disrupting electronic systems at a massive scale. The potential of these EMPs to cripple the alien war machines was immense, but their use was risky. Unleashing such a device could affect human systems as well, risking the collapse of communication networks and power grids. As these experimental technologies were rolled out, the HFY world's remaining military forces scrambled to adapt them for immediate use. The weapons, while promising, were untested in real-world conditions, and their deployment required careful coordination. Every attempt to launch a counterattack felt like a leap into the unknown. But the urgency of the situation left little room for caution. Soldiers, civilians, and engineers worked tirelessly to modify the weapons for rapid deployment, knowing that the fate of Earth rested on their success. The first few test strikes with the plasma cannons were both exhilarating and terrifying. When the weapons finally fired in the heat of battle, their power was undeniable. A single shot from one of these cannons could obliterate a section of an alien ship, causing it to explode into a burst of fiery debris. Yet, the alien invaders were quick to adapt, shifting their strategies and reinforcing their forces in response to the new threats. The humans' first few victories were hard-won, but each success proved that the tide of the war could be turned, even if only in small, incremental steps. The drones, while smaller and less imposing than the massive alien, warships proved to be a deadly nuisance. They swarmed over alien encampments, dodging enemy fire and weaving through narrow streets in pursuit of their targets. In one daring attack, a group of drones infiltrated an alien stronghold, delivering precision strikes that took out key infrastructure and damaged the invaders' command center. The drones' ability to remain undetected while delivering devastating blows to the alien forces gave humanity a new edge, even if only for a short time. And then there was the EMP device. Its test launch was nothing short of revolutionary. The first time it was activated in the heart of a major city, entire sectors of the alien fleet were thrown into chaos as their technology short-circuited and powered down. Alien ships crashed from the sky, and their ground troops struggled to regroup as their communication systems were severed. The effects were not without their consequences, however. A massive EMP strike temporarily disabled Earth's own technology, plunging cities into darkness and leaving governments scrambling to restore order. But for a brief moment, the aliens were left vulnerable, and humanity had a chance to strike back. As these secret weapons were deployed across the planet, the resistance began to grow in strength and confidence. The previously hopeless situation now seemed a little less grim. The alien invaders, who had once seemed unstoppable, began to realize that they were not invincible after all. Humanity, pushed to the brink of extinction, had found a way to fight back, not with sheer numbers or brute strength, but with ingenuity and the power of technology that had been hidden from the world for so long. The secret weapons became the symbol of humanity's resilience and determination to survive, even in the face of overwhelming odds. The world was caught off guard when the first wave of alien invaders descended upon Earth. The cities, once symbols of human achievement, turned into chaotic battlefields in a matter of hours. The skies, once clear and blue, now pulsed with the harsh light of alien warships that hovered above, casting ominous shadows on the streets below. In the blink of an eye, bustling urban landscapes were transformed into war zones. The sounds of everyday life, cars honking, children playing, the hum of conversations, were replaced by the deafening roar of explosions and the shrill cry of sirens. The buildings that once stood tall and proud began to crumble under the relentless bombardment, their steel skeletons buckling and twisting as the alien forces launched wave after wave of destruction. Streetlights flickered and went dark, their once steady glow vanishing beneath the smoke and dust rising from shattered streets. People fled in all directions, desperate to escape the storm of violence that had engulfed their homes. The battle for Earth wasn't just fought with weapons, it was fought with hearts and minds. Those who stayed behind to fight for their cities, soldiers, civilians, and even those who never dreamed of picking up a weapon, found themselves thrust into a war they were not prepared for. They banded together in makeshift teams, trying to outsmart and outmaneuver an enemy that was unlike anything they had ever seen. With every passing hour, the cities became more unrecognizable. Streets that were once filled with the mundane rush of daily life were now deserted or turned into battlegrounds, where gunfire echoed through the empty alleys. Some fought from the shadows, taking cover behind debris and wrecked vehicles, while others, desperate to protect what remained of their homes, stood their ground in open defiance. The air was thick with smoke, choking the life out of those who ventured too close to the fighting, and the smell of burning rubber and metal filled the once fresh air. In every corner of the globe, from New York to Paris, from London to Tokyo, the alien invaders made their presence known with deadly force. Major landmarks, symbols of human history and pride, became primary targets. The Eiffel Tower, a symbol of love and culture, was torn apart by the alien weaponry, its graceful structure collapsing in a cloud of dust. The Statue of Liberty, an emblem of freedom, was reduced to rubble, its broken pieces scattered across the shores of New York. As the alien forces spread across the planet, their sheer technological superiority became apparent. Their weapons, far more advanced than anything humanity had ever seen, tore through cities with ease. Where human tanks and fighter jets once ruled the skies and ground, the alien ships, sleek and deadly, maneuvered effortlessly, firing devastating energy blasts that decimated entire sections of cities in seconds. With every attack, humanity's sense of safety shattered, and a grim realization took hold. The world had been caught completely unprepared. There were no defense plans, no emergency contingencies for such a large-scale invasion. Governments scrambled, attempting to organize a defense, but communication lines were severed, and many military installations were overrun before they could even respond. The alien forces moved with frightening precision, targeting military hubs and key cities first, and in some places, entire countries fell in days. People had little time to process the reality of the situation before they were forced to run, hide, or fight. Entire families were ripped apart in the chaos, with parents and children separated as the war machine of the alien invaders advanced relentlessly. Yet, amidst the devastation, there was a spark of defiance. The resilience of humankind was undeniable. Even as the cities turned into graveyards of concrete and steel, the spirit of survival remained strong. In every corner of the globe, from the ruins of the world's greatest cities to the smallest, hidden corners of the earth, there were whispers of resistance. People weren't willing to surrender without a fight, no matter how dire the odds seemed. The cities, once symbols of human civilization, were now the epicenter of a war that would decide the fate of humanity. And while the alien forces may have had the upper hand in terms of firepower, they had yet to understand the unyielding strength that lay within the hearts of those who called Earth home. The atmosphere had already been charged with tension for weeks, but the betrayal of a high-ranking officer sent shockwaves through the heart of humanity's resistance. Commander Jason Leclerc had long been a symbol of resilience. He had led countless successful missions, inspiring confidence and hope among those who fought beside him. His reputation was built on years of tireless commitment to the cause, and the soldiers under his command trusted him implicitly. Yet, in the middle of the greatest war Earth had ever faced, his actions would unravel everything. One cold evening, a few loyal soldiers witnessed a suspicious meeting between Leclerc and a group of alien soldiers at an abandoned military base. Initially dismissed as a misunderstanding, the situation quickly escalated into a revelation that none could have anticipated. The commander had not only betrayed his people, but had also aligned himself with the invaders, sharing critical intelligence with them. Details about Earth's secret weaponry, defense strategies, and vulnerable locations. His betrayal was not a sudden turn, but the culmination of months of clandestine communications with the alien forces. The shock of it spread like wildfire, cracking the unity of the resistance that had fought so hard to survive. As the news reached the command centers and military units across the globe, disbelief gave way to anger and suspicion. Soldiers who had served under Leclerc felt their world come crashing down. He had been the guiding light through their darkest moments, the one who inspired them to keep fighting even when the odds seemed insurmountable. The revelation that their once beloved commander had sold them out left a void in the ranks that could not easily be filled. His betrayal allowed the alien forces to anticipate humanity's every move, giving them an upper hand in the war. Strategic. Locations were hit with devastating precision, leaving humanity reeling. Military bases, once thought to be impenetrable, were wiped out within hours of the betrayal becoming public. The Resistance's carefully laid plans began to fall apart, and the soldiers who remained loyal to the cause were forced to pick up the pieces. They had no choice but to adapt, to reforge their unity under the shadow of the loss of their leader and the devastating knowledge that someone among them had helped the enemy. Suspicion began to fester within the ranks, with soldiers unsure of who to trust. Friendships, once solid and unbreakable, were now strained as people began questioning one another's loyalties. The idea that anyone could have been working for the aliens planted seeds of doubt in every corner of the Resistance. Was there anyone else who had turned, or was Leclerc the only one? Paranoia spread like a disease, affecting both the front lines and the leadership. Some commanders, unsure whether their subordinates were truly loyal, became cautious, keeping plans secret until the last possible moment. Morale plummeted, as those who had once fought alongside one another found it difficult to look each other in the eye. The psychological toll of the betrayal was as damaging as the physical losses. The wounds were not just on the battlefield. They were deeply embedded in the hearts and minds of the people who had trusted the commander with their lives. But despite the pain and anger, something extraordinary happened. The betrayal did not break humanity's resolve. It sparked a new kind of fight. The Resistance leaders, shaken but not defeated, began to regroup. In the ashes of this treachery, new leaders emerged, leaders who refused to let the enemy's infiltration divide them further. The soldiers, despite their doubts, found strength in the knowledge that their fight was bigger than any single individual. Leclerc's betrayal might have turned the tide temporarily in favor of the alien invaders, but it could never defeat the spirit of those who still believed in Earth's survival. They knew now that victory would not just come from weapons or tactics, but from the unbreakable will of the human heart. The battle for Earth was far from over, and as the soldiers of the Resistance prepared for their next move, they carried with them the weight of their commander's treason. They fought not only for their planet, but for the trust that had been shattered, knowing that the true enemy wasn't just in the sky, it was also within.